In an attempt to win in a multiple offer situation, a would-be buyer in Bethesda, Maryland actually pledged to the seller that she would name her firstborn child after that seller if they got their offer accepted. And it didn't work. Is it crazy out there? Yes, it is. So today we have a bunch of tips that you can use to make your offer stronger and hopefully get it accepted so you can get that house that you want. I'm Carolina Reed with The Real Deal, the place where you can go to get the confidence and the clarity that you need to make the right real estate decisions for you. And today we are talking about getting your offer accepted so you can get the house that you want in a multiple offer situation. And we have lots and lots of tips for you that will strengthen that offer and make it more acceptable to a seller. So put yourself in the shoes of a seller for just a moment and think about what it is that a seller would want. Sellers want reliable closings with no hassles. They want the most amount of money possible and a nice, easy process. So your job as the buyer is to give them as many of those things as you possibly can. So first, we have one that many of you probably already know, and that is get pre-approved. Go talk to your lender. Give them your financing information so they can give you a letter that says, yes, you are approved for the amount of money for the house that you want. That shows the seller that you are ready. Your feet are on the starting line, and as soon as that starting gun goes off, you will be off and running. But truth be told, most buyers are going to be pre-approved at this point. So how do you go above and beyond? Well, the first thing that you can do is you can have your lender call that listing agent to let that listing agent know that he or she has indeed talked to you and you are good to go for that amount of money. No question. Another thing you could do is go with a local bank. Sometimes the smaller local banks can get you a commitment letter a little bit quicker. Commitment letter being a letter from the lender saying, we commit to this loan. This is not going to fall through. And if you can get that letter to a seller before close, the more time before close, the better. That will make the seller feel better. And sometimes your smaller local banks can do that better than the big chains can. Another thing you can do is go with a lender that offers a close on time guarantee. If they don't close and it's the lender's fault that it's not going to close on time, the lender either pays the seller some money, or they make it right somehow. That will give the seller a little bit of reassurance that not only are you serious, but your lender is serious as well. Next, make the highest offer that you can. Make sure that your budget is good with it, and you have to be okay whether you win or whether you lose. If you win, you haven't stretched your budget too far. And if you lose, it's okay because you didn't want to spend that much money anyway. But what's tough about a multiple offer situation is you don't know whether people are offering asking price or $30,000 over asking price. And you don't want to throw all of your money into that pool if you don't have to and be $20,000 over the next highest bid. Right? Well, one thing you can do is called an escalation clause. What that means is you can put in a number. Let's just say you put in for asking price. Well, you can put a clause in there that says you will beat any competing offer by $1,000 up to X amount of dollars, whatever your budget holds, whatever it is that you're willing to spend on that house. So if you go in an asking price and somebody comes in 5 over that, and you put in your escalation clause that you'll go up to 15 over asking price, you will be able to go over by $1,000 or whatever you have in the contract, those competing bids. And that is usually a pretty good way to make sure that your price is the best. Now, that doesn't always work because somebody could always come in at $20,000 over asking price and way outbid you from the beginning. But at least it makes sure that you don't stretch your budget too far. Make sure that you put your cap in a comfortable budget zone. Now, the next thing that you can do is a little on the controversial side, and that is to write a personal letter. Personal letters have been very popular in the past, and I know that I have won offers for my clients. by them submitting a personal letter to the seller. However, it is pretty controversial, and some agents won't even present personal letters anymore because it actually, some people think, goes against fair housing laws. The seller is not supposed to discriminate based on familial status or race or religion or anything else. So if you have a house and you have a family that wants the house, or you have just a single person that wants the house, you as a seller, if you want the family to have that house because you want a new family to grow up in that house, you're not supposed to be able to do that. That is housing discrimination. So some agents don't even present them anymore. But if you do decide to write a letter, make sure that it's got some details about you, what it is that you love about the house. If you have a low offer for some reason that you want to explain to them, put that explanation in there. Whatever it is that you can put into that letter so that that seller gets to know you a little bit more, build some arm's length rapport that could help that seller connect with you and choose you to sell their house to. Another thing you can do to win that house is to pay cash. But if you can't do that, the next thing that you could do is pay the highest down payment that you can afford. That will let the seller know that, first of all, you've got some cash on hand. You have some good financing. You're not living on a shoestring budget. And the more down payment that you have, the better your chances are of having your loan close, which will help the seller feel comfortable with your offer. Also, make that offer as clean as you can in the way of contingencies. Take away as many contingencies as you can. If you can take away the contingency for the appraisal. So if the house doesn't appraise for as much as you are promising to buy it for, you are promising that you're going to make up that difference in cash instead. Make it non-contingent of the sale of your current home. That way the seller knows they're not going to be waiting for you to get your home sold first and block that chain of dominoes. If you do have a house that you have to sell, but you don't want to make your offer contingent on the sale of that house, but you can't afford 2 house payments at the same time, one thing you could do is work with a lender by the name of Knock, like knock on the door. They have something called the Knock Home Swap that could help you out. If you want more information on that, I will put a link in the description below for a video you can watch about more information on the Knock Home Swap. One contingency that buyers have been electing to forego lately just to win this offer is an inspection contingency. And yes, you can do that. You can make it non-contingent on an inspection. I would, however, be very careful with that. Sometimes it's not so bad. If you have a townhouse or a condo where you have an association that takes care of most of the big ticket items for you, like the roof and the siding or the windows, okay, that's not so bad. But if it's a single family home, you really do not want to forego that inspection. You want to know if there's something major that's going on with this house. You certainly can buy that house as is with the right to inspect. That pretty much tells the seller that yes, you're going to have the house inspected. You want to go through that inspection process, but that the results of the inspection are not going to affect the offer, that no matter what they find, you are still going to buy that house, which I guess would be helpful because then you'll know, at least going into it, the things that you're going to have to save money for. Another thing that you could do is buy yourself a home warranty. That's just kind of some insurance that some of the major systems, the furnace, the air conditioner, all the appliances, that those things that are in working order today, but might not be tomorrow, that those things are covered just in case. And because the market is so beautiful at being able to adapt to conditions, lots of inspectors have something new now called the mini inspection. That is when you book your 1-hour showing to go look at that house, and at the same time, the inspector comes in and does a mini inspection of that house, and he looks at as much as he can, as quick as he can, and give you the results that he sees. So you don't have to go through a full inspection. You can offer on that house non-contingent on inspection, but still have an idea of whether or not there's any major issues with the house. And if you do elect to make it contingent on an inspection, one thing that you could do is shorten your inspection timelines. Your agent is going to put a timeline in there saying that within a, let's say, 10-day period, you are going to have that inspection, get those inspection results, figure out what they are. If there's an issue, most people then go back to the seller and negotiate. Either the seller gets it fixed or you have a price reduction or whatever the case may be. And all of that is all tied up in the 10-day period. So what you could do is shorten that timeline as short as you possibly can, so that if something does come up in the inspection and you do bail out, at least the seller will know that the house is not going to be off the market for too long. Another thing you can do to get your offer to float to the top of the pile is to be flexible on the closing date. Let the sellers know, hey, no big deal. Whenever they want to close, you'll be ready. Also, make sure that after your offer is submitted that you are available. Should the seller have any questions, you want to make sure that you are available to answer those questions as quickly as possible so they don't move on to the next offer. Another thing that looks really good on offers is a higher amount of earnest money. Earnest money is the amount of money that you put down that shows the seller that you're serious, you have skin in the game. Because if you flake out and you leave, the seller is probably going to get to keep that money, and it's thousands of dollars. So the higher your earnest money, the more potential money you have to lose and they have to gain if there's a problem. The more serious that the seller is going to know that you are about this offer. Another thing you can do to look great in the seller's eyes is to not ask them for any extra costs or fees. Don't ask them for closing costs. Don't ask them for lender required repairs. And don't ask them to buy you a home warranty. And another thing you can do to show that seller that you are laid back and flexible is to offer them to rent back. If they are, depending on what their moving situation is, they may have problems locating after the house closes. So just let them know that they can rent the house back if they need to stay there for a little bit before they move on to their next house. Another interesting strategy is to put a time limit on your offer. Now, for this to work, your offer has to be really good, really strong. Because what you want to do is make your offer so good that the seller doesn't want to pass it up and wait to see what other offers they get down the road. So you put a time limit of like 4 to 6 hours on it so that hopefully they will jump on your offer first and not wait to see what the others have to offer. And an often overlooked part of having a really good offer is to have an agent with really good communications. Because not only do you want an agent that can call the listing agent and explain to them the merits of your offer over all of the others, but you want one that would also go deliver your offer in person to any FSBO sellers. There's a lot of those right now. And if you go deliver your offer in person to that FSBO person, that seller, that agent can then build rapport with that seller and hopefully get your offer as the chosen one. But not only that, a really good agent with really good communication will call that listing agent ahead of time before you put in an offer and see what they can do to find out what is the seller's pain. What is it that's making them move, or are they having issues with? And whatever that pain is, that agent will help you craft an offer that eases that pain for that seller the best way that you can. Because whoever eases the pain the most is going to get their offer accepted. And speaking of pain, I promise it is a very painless experience to go right down below and hit that like button. And of course, no discussion about getting your offer accepted in this crazy market would be complete without mentioning, don't go nuts. Know that there is a time to walk away. And some of those red flags that should tell you to walk away would be if you're overspending or you're taking shortcuts, you're not getting that inspection contingency. That might be time to walk away. Those shortcuts, that overspending could take the house of your dreams and turn it into the house of your nightmares. Also, if you do have that inspection or a mini inspection or however you choose to handle that, if you find out that the house has some major repair issues, unless you've got a ton of money in the bank to cover those issues, just walk away. And also, if that house is at the top of your budget, maybe it's time to let it go. First of all, if you offer too high, your lender may not approve you for more money than what's in your approval letter, which means that you would have to come to the closing table with that extra cash. So if it's already at the top of your budget, coming to closing with cash is probably not an option, and your loan very well could fall through. But I have said it before and I will say it again. If that happens, don't worry. If you have to walk away or if it falls through, don't worry. There is a house for you. There's always a house for everybody. So take a couple of days, regroup, get back out in the search, because there is another house out there for you. If you are a buyer and you want more information on navigating this crazy process, well, go ahead and click right here for the top 5 mistakes that home buyers make so you don't make them. And if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click right here for the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.